Does Joe Abercrombie miss? Was the question I asked myself when I started Best Served Cold. And the answer is no. Fucking never. I thought this book was gonna be like a cute little side story with some fun new characters, delving into a bunch of like lore that is kind of optional but interesting nonetheless. But that's not the case. For a billion fucking reasons, this is a very important book. But more importantly, for this part of the video, it is a very good book. I'll say the other stuff for later in the spoilery section. So, Best Served Cold is a revenge fantasy, okay? Literally. It is a fantasy novel about revenge. But at the same time, it's also not a revenge fantasy, right? In the regular sense of the term. Because a revenge fantasy is a story in which revenge is like glorified. It is a good thing. It is something that can end with satisfaction and happiness and decent resolve. Think Kill Bill, Count of Monte Cristo. Those books end with the protagonists being like, yo, this revenge shit is fucking sick. It really, really worked out for me. That is not the case in Best Served Cold. That is very much not the case. We watch each of our brave, honorable protagonists murder many very good, innocent people, one by one, slowly, mercilessly. We watch as revenge just tears each of them down in different ways, and they just become like shittier, fouler versions of themselves as we saw them as at the start. While the message isn't entirely subtle, it's multifaceted, right? So many different elements come into play through the story, telling the reader in a very wide variety of ways and from a handful of different perspectives that revenge is a cake best served fucking moldy and old or whatever. Abercrombie does this by playing to his strengths. He doesn't hesitate to display the truth that lies underneath revenge, right? The death, the destruction, the unhappiness. Nobody wins. Everybody loses in dramatic, dark, gory ways. All of the POV characters are unique and endearing for very different reasons, while presenting revenge in a different yet still very brutal light. Shivers, from the original First Law trilogy, who's back and fucking better than ever in this book, is this like naive at the start. He's very naive and optimistic and you know, he thinks he can change. Morveer is this like pompous poisoner who sees revenge and death and murder as more of like an art form. So it's exploring this concept of wanton murder in a totally different light. That's still negative, but from his perspective, he's like, you know, that was a fucking sick murder. Friendly is a freak. Monza is probably my favorite, as her arc is like constantly wavering, undulating, and changing. As we're watching her develop as a character, she herself isn't really developing that much. It's more that we're seeing her backstory across this book change, and that changes how we see her. Our perspective on who she is as a character changes a lot. Here, spoiler time, spoiler warning. The story starts with Monza, who is like this mercenary captain, going to see Grand Duke Orso, who's the king of this other region called Styria, and Orso kills her brother, who she loves a lot, very clearly, immediately. A lot. And then chucks her out of the fucking window, trying to kill her too. She survives and then sets off on this grand quest for revenge, which is what the entire book is about. You do not like this group that killed her at the start. They murdered who was very clearly our protagonist. You see them and you're like, these people, they're grimy. They killed her for selfish reasons and ruined her life for nothing. We like Benna, Monza's brother, and Monza because they're the underdogs. They are just mercenaries. They have no ties to royalty, anything like that. And especially after the murder, when Monza is just nothing. She just has a bunch of money, but that's really it. But then as the story progresses, we start to dislike Monza because she's just so blinded by this quest for vengeance that she can't see the irreparable harm she's causing at like every turn. Well, she might see it, but she at the very least ignores it for this quest. And we get this backstory for all the group that killed her, and they're really like revealed as just, they're not that bad. And then it's like also revealed that Benna was kind of a piece of shit too. And for all intents and purposes, the world is objectively better off with him dead. And then we go back to liking Monza because it's revealed that all the shit that it seems that she did wrong was actually Benna's fault. Benna is the reason that Monza was supposed to be killed. He was the one trying to usurp Orso's throne, and he was trying to usurp it for Monza. And Monza didn't know. So, like, as the story goes on, we just start to realize that it's just one big misunderstanding and that this quest for revenge is just nothing. And then the book ends with the ultimate irony in that Monza does get the throne. By going on this quest for revenge, she kills all these people, including the King of Styria, and takes the throne anyway. Shivers, who hates the Bloody Nine from the original trilogy with every bit of his being, ends up becoming him because he was alongside Monza in this quest. He ends up being corrupted. Casca, the other sellsword captain, goes back to drinking. He goes back to selling his sword despite like all these claims of being able to change. He admits at the end that he changed and now he has changed back. Right? It's basically saying that nothing at all changes unless we change it. An eye for an eye makes the world blind, death begets death, all that. Again, not that subtle, but it's explored super heavily. Not everything has to hide behind an analogy or dance around the issue. Put simply, I get the point. Revenge is bad, and I really enjoyed seeing the various ways, not just like the most popular way revenge can corrupt people. Very depressing book. And once again, Abercrombie has made me fall in love with fucking sociopaths. A group of just general, just emotionless, or very emotional maniacs. I cared about them. I cared about their arc despite all of that. And I cannot wait to see how he makes me feel just like shit next. Oh, and 8.5.